Silent.
So, hello people. You can just confirm in the chats that we are live and we are properly audible to you. And we will be reading your comments throughout. So make sure you are keeping this conversation going on.
So we'll be waiting for the confirmation. If we get a confirmation in the chat box, it would be very much better, and we'll be starting this session soon enough. Okay, so I think we are live again, and yeah. So first of all, Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to have a discussion around three languages, whether to pursue Java or CPP or Python. I have seen many students that they are very much having confusion that which language they should choose in their career, right? So as a new year is just starting, so many of you might be having your new year resolution and might be willing to learn a new language. So we are in this video, and in this video we'll be explaining everything. So stay tuned till the end of the video, and we are hoping for just give the like if you really enjoyed this video and write down your views in the comment section, right? Okay.
Great. So, people, we will be discussing all of the pros and cons of each and every language. Don't worry. And I can see all of you are live here. That's great. So let me introduce myself to you. I'm Devashish Khare, and I'm a mentor here at GeeksforGeeks. And I have these two amazing mentors.
Hi, I'm Jed Sania, and welcome to this video.
Hi everyone, my name is Karan Masru and I'm also working as an associate mentor at GeeksforGeeks, and today I will be talking about C++ and Jai will be talking about Java and Devashish will be mainly referring you about Python.
So people, let's begin the discussion. But before the discussion, I do have one thing in store for you. So as you might have already noticed, the 390 challenge going on, let me quote it here once again. So as a New Year gift, we are having this amazing 390 challenge for you. What you have to do is you can pick up any of the courses from our courses catalog, and you have to complete 90% of that course within the 90 days whenever you enroll in the course. And once you do that, we are going to give 90% of the amount that you paid for the course back to you. So this is the amazing gift for you.
And as I mentioned that New Year has just started, so let's start this 2024 with a new resolution, and let's try to scale up in this year. So do start with this, and yeah. So
also guys, I think it's a very good thing, like you will get a lot of motivation once you purchase the course, even to complete the course, because if you complete 90% of the course, you will not only upskill yourself, you will also get 90% refund. And I think there are a lot of variety of courses, and you can go on the Geeks4Geeks platform and look for further details. So let's start with today's discussion. So we will be talking about C++, Java, and Python. So I would suggest that, guys, like I was in Gujarat board during my primary school. So in Gujarat board, C is taught during the school days. And for most of the people, the first language which they learn is C, because that's quite easy and the first basic language. So I think whenever if a fresher is looking, or if a person is thinking to start their career in coding, then most probably they have done some coding in C, either as their first language or as in school.
Yes.
Or maybe in some basic certification course.
Correct.
So C++ is very similar to C. You will get very handy within 1 or 2 days only if you have coded in C language before. So I think C++ is good to start with language for many freshers because of this reason.
Right.
And also I think before starting with C++, everybody should just write some amount of code in C. I think you both will agree with me on that point.
Correct.
Because that's the basic language, not with the perception that it will be used further a lot, but it's good to have an idea of that. And because of these reasons, I think many beginners can start with C++.
Yes. So like I have seen that C language covers almost all the important concepts, like the pointers and the array, the memory allocation, deallocation. So everything is covered in C language. So the advanced version of C language can be considered as C++. But nowadays in the industry, wherever you are going to work as a backend developer, or if you are going to be a developer, then almost Java is preferred everywhere in all the top companies. So if you have already learned Java programming during your college days, then when you are going to join the company, it will be an upper hand. You don't need to go through that learning a new language again and again, right? So if you are already have some good coding practices with Java, then it is going to be an upper hand when you join such companies.
Well, for sure, I agree with both of you. A little more points to add to what Karan said. What happened with me was I basically am from CBSE board. So in that board, in my years, C++ was being taught. So my first language actually was C++. And when I entered college, then again for the first semester, as you said, C was there. So
Okay.
C actually is I believe the best language to begin with, because like even if I have to suggest Python to someone, I always say at least give 3 or 4 weeks to C, because the pedestal that C is going to make, I don't believe that Python or any other language would be able to, because that clears some of the really very basic concepts that every programmer must know. Just to one more thing that has happened now, Python has been made compulsory for CBSE in their 10+2, which I believe is actually, you can learn it, but still you would miss on a very few points. So again, if you're choosing Python, being very robust and being used in almost all of the fields today, in ML or data science, or you can say in development, or we are going to be discussing that point further. If you're choosing Python, you must go for C first and then switch to Python for its ease and all of the pros it has.
Yes. So there's a comparison between Java and other languages. So Java is considered as write once and you can run it anywhere. So basically, the Java programming language is going to run on a virtual machine. It's not directly going to interact with your system. So what I think the best benefit of writing the code in Java is that, let's say you have written your code in my computer, then it will be easily runnable on the other system if that contains the Java virtual machine. So that is the upper hand. I consider it as an upper hand compared to other languages. What are your views?
Well, platform independence surely is the biggest point of Java, because for other languages, if we compare, not all the languages support that, but Java specifically, because it uses JVM, you can run its code everywhere. Python too support that platform independence, because it is an interpreted language. So wherever you are just interpreting it, one by line will be getting interpreted one by one directly to the machine. So it does. It also has that platform independence.
Okay.
Well,
I think,
I believe that yes, Java and Python are platform independent, but C++ is not the platform independent. It does not provide in that sense. Like you need a compiler and then it converts to a respective file, which you can then execute on the respective machine, whether you have Windows or Mac or maybe a Linux system. But I think its compiler is quite easily available since it's a very old language, and if you have the code, and then you can definitely run on any respective machine once you have installed the respective compiler. But yes, that's not platform independent in that sense, right?
correct. If I have to talk about a pro of Python, well, actually, the point is, whenever you see a Python code, it is actually quite figurable, even if you do not have a coding background. If you give this Python code to anyone, he might be able to read and get some idea out of it, because that is the ease and the readability of Python. It is very near to the English language. And one more point is, in Python, basically, it is designed in the form so that it can bridge the gap between what you are thinking and what you have to write down. So the narrower it is, the better and the faster it is going to be for you to work on your thinking process and write up the code.
Okay.
Right?
So basically, I want to know your views. Like when you started learning Python, so how comfortable were you with the syntax?
Well, let me tell you what personally happened with me was, I initially started coding in C++, and then when I was like in my first year, second year of college, I was very well versed with C++. But then I got introduced to Python, and believe me, it seemed so easy to me, and I got really very comfortable in just 1 or 2 months with Python. And since then, I prefer Python for coding any of the things.
Okay. So I think, yeah. So basically, if you know like pre any of the language, like let's say C, C++, then it's very easy. So yeah. So regarding the readability in Java is a little bit complex if you will directly start with Java programming language, because if you talk about just the main method, right? So the other languages like C++, Python, just they write down the main method as it is, right? But Java has a very lengthy syntax: public, static, void, main, string arguments.
Right.
So I have seen many students like they are very much scared looking at the code of Java that, okay, so just to print hello world, I need to write down system.out.println. So the thing is that Java in the single line, let's say, as I mentioned, public, static, void, main, it has
Right.
got many concepts. So from the day zero, you are learning different concepts in writing just a hello world. So it can be difficult for someone, but if you get comfortable with that, then you are learning all the concepts very quickly. So that is one of the good thing, but the readability is kind of confusing in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, to so add to the point of these two people, I think C++ is somewhere in between Java and Python in terms of readability and understanding the code, because it's not as straightforward as to Python. Like if we look from a beginner's point of view, or if we show the code to let's say non-tech guy who doesn't know much of the programming thing, then he or she would be find Python the easiest to understand what's happening, Java to be the hardest, because even if you want to print hello world, there are a lot of things to define, and C++ somewhere in between. So I think in that sense, C++ is quite beginner friendly in terms of that. But the last point which Jai mentioned, I would highly agree with that if you get comfortable with Java, you might find it a bit difficult in the starting, but once you get comfortable with that, then I think Python and C++ will become even more easier.
Completely
Yeah,
a
but
cakewalk for you.
yeah, from beginner's point of view, I think C++ stands somewhere in between in terms of understanding the code and readability, right? And like if we move further and discuss other points, then I think one of the major things is, can you implement the code in object oriented fashion in particular language? Like I think in C is not available, right?
It's C, it is not.
Whereas in C++, I think you can write the code in normal procedural way as well as in the object-oriented programming fashion, which is, I think, a very good thing, because for a beginner, writing the code in object-oriented programming fashion might become a bit difficult, because
Correct.
they also need to understand the
Yes.
OOPS concept.
Correct.
So I think in that way, C++ is a good to go language, and I think Java becomes a bit complicated in that way, because you have to write in OOPS fashion only. And like I would like Jai to tell a detail more about that fashion in Java.
So before answering that thing, there is a question from Sai Harsha. She's saying that is Java required to everyone as a developer or not? So basically, it depends. See, each and every language has some, like, basically it is used to implement a specific thing. For Java, it is more powerful on the backend side. So if you are looking forward to work as a backend developer, then it is possible that the company which you are looking for might be using Java as their backend technology. Okay. I hope I'm able to answer your question, Sai Harsha.
Also, before moving on, I just want to say that please stay tuned, guys, because at the end we will be answering all the questions which we get. I mean, the majority of them, which we found a good one. And make sure you hit that like button if you are enjoying the stream. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Jay, you may continue. We were talking about the
object-oriented programming fashion in particular language. So, what about Java?
So there is a debate going on that whether Java is strictly object-oriented programming language or not. But so this is one of the famous question which is asked in interview if you are going to join as a Java programmer. So basically, let me give you an idea. Java is not strictly object-oriented programming, but everything in Java except the primitive data type is written using objects. Okay, so if you simply want to write down a method, you cannot just write down method independently. You need to include that method inside any class or any object.
Even to print, I think hello world, you might need to
Yes,
define a class and a lot of things.
So basically system.out.println, basically it already contains class and different methods.
Coming to Python, it is actually very simple to write hello world. You just need one line, that is using the print keyword to write it. And obviously Python does support OOPS, but whenever you want to design a class, it is needed then. If you want to write a procedural code, it can go with that fashion as well. And the basic thing is, as already like Jay has mentioned, that Java needs all of the things to be started from class. It is not the case with C++ or Python.
Yes.
Anything more?
So we got one more question. So what
Shall we
things are
take the
mostly
question?
okay. So I guess we'll be simultaneously we can.
We have some more points to discuss, and then at the end, please
Okay,
stay
yeah.
tuned, guys.
Sure.
We'll take the questions at the end. Okay.
Okay, so just pay proper attention to what we are discussing, so that at the end you can we will be
You have a
giving you a
clear idea
yes,
about all the things,
and
right? And then
simultaneously
we'll
we
also look at the questions at the end.
yes, and simultaneously we'll also be looking at the questions in the chat box as well. Okay, so the next point is around the speed. Basically, each and every language works like, let's say if you write down an algorithm, then Java is going to take X amount of time, then Python is going to take 1x amount of time. It depends. Each and every language has its own speed. See, compared to C++, what are your views? What are
I think
your views on?
if we talk about the speed, then I think C++ is the fastest as compared to Java and
Yes.
Python, and that's one advantage of that. And because of that, it is used in some applications where we would not prefer Java and Python. Like we'll discuss the applications further, but yeah, it's faster than Java and Python.
Yes, and I think C++ is the nearest to the operating system compared to Java.
Correct.
The Java works on a virtual machine, so basically there is a barrier between the operating system and the programming, the code which you want to
Correct.
execute. So it is little bit slower compared to C++ and little bit faster compared to Python.
Right. If I talk about Python, oh well, Python is actually slower than both of the languages, but that is actually kind of a trade-off because the libraries that you get and the interpreted nature that Python has actually makes it a little slow. In case of C++, what happens? The whole program is compiled at once and then executable file is executed. And like if you talk about Java, what happens? A bytecode is made and that bytecode is interpreted, on JVM. But in Python, what happens? You take up the code and you directly interpret it, and that is shown on the screen, right? So only this process is there, and you're fetching each and every line, and then you are executing it. So this makes it a little slower, but like it is just a trade-off of Python being interpreted language.
Yeah, and I think like if we look apart from speed, one of the good advantages of all the three languages is that they support good libraries. Like I'm
Right.
not talking about the application right now, but in general also like you have different data structures. Like if I talk about C++, then there is a standard template library, which gives you a lot of built-in functions and data structures like stack, queue. So you do not have to worry about all of this, right?
Yes.
Think about a case when you are implementing stack with the help of, let's say, C language. Then you either need to do it in a static way where you will either waste memory or you will
Correct.
not have enough
Correct,
memory.
correct.
Or else if you want to do it in dynamic fashion, then you might need pointers, whereas again it becomes complicated.
Correct.
Whereas C++ has STL library, standard template library, and under the hood it implements all of this. Like some really smart people in the world have written these libraries and you can just directly use them, right? So I think that's one of the big advantages of C++. Like you have STL libraries which provide you with a lot of sorting, searching functions. Then you have stacks, queues. These are the data structures. You have maps and a lot of things, right? So I think that's one advantage of having such a library. And I would like to know what about the libraries in Java and Python from this
Yes.
point of view.
So similar to STL in C++, we have collections framework, entire collection framework. It is entirely similar to STL. So we also have a very good library support as Java is open source. So there are many libraries available for development side, right? So what about Python? How is the
Well,
culture over there?
in Python, what happens? You have the data types in the terms of your data structures only. You have your list, you have your tuples,
Okay.
you have your strings. Then you for implementing hash maps, you already have pre-built dictionaries and sets as well. So all of these strings are being dealt as data structures and data types only in Python. And Python is really abstract. So you do not need to care about all the underlying codes that are already written, and the implementation has become really easy. It's just like in C++ and Java nowadays have all the libraries needed. Python has been having it so far, all the sorting libraries and all the like things like reverse. We already have a function for that. You want to insert some value in the middle of the list, you already have the function, pre-built function for that. So unlike C, all of the three languages are now having all of the functionalities.
Yes, but the C language does not have any kind of support for
Right.
all these data structures. You need to implement the data structures
From
on your
scratch.
own. Okay, so although some of the coders might have written down in a header file based on it, but the
It's quite
officially you
difficult.
are not able to get any
Right.
kind of such
Right.
things.
Right.
Yes. again we got a question, which language is best for DSA? So stay tuned. We'll be answering all these questions, and this is the video in which we are going to cover this part. Okay, so stay tuned till the last part.
Right.
Okay, and yes, one important thing what I think about Java is that Java is a very good memory management. So in the field of web development, in the field of backend development, if any programming language is a good memory management, then obviously that's a good thing. It increases the efficiency of the entire process. So what are your views about memory management in your language?
Well, for Python as well, Python 2 support garbage collection, and it has its own mechanism to do that. It actually has a counter. So if any of these structure is not used for quite a while, it self terminates it, and whenever it is needed back, it allocates the memory again. So it takes care of the garbage. It takes care of the memory by garbage collection. It does have support for that.
Okay.
Well, I think C++ as such do not have the memory management things like something like a garbage collection. But we can view this from both the points. Like
Correct.
it has a minus point as well, because for someone like a fresher, if they forgot to free a pointer, then that pointer becomes a dangling pointer,
Right.
or it may create an issue in further time. But at the same time, if a developer wants to develop some intense systems connecting with the hardware, etc., then at that point I think it becomes more handy as compared to Java or
Correct.
Python. But yes, it sometimes like you need to allocate the memory using maybe new keyword and then free up again, and then that might become a bit tedious, especially for a fresher. Like in C, it's even worse. Like you need to do
Right.
the malloc and then define the size. And
Correct,
but yeah,
correct.
in this case, I think Java and Python has a plus point as compared to C++. But as I said, having the control over the memory with the developer also has a plus point if the developer wants to develop some intense thing, right?
Right.
Yes. So I think there's an interesting question. So someone named Ishak Gori is saying that, sir, I'm from tier 3 college. I'm interested in machine learning. Should I go for DSA or machine learning? See, DSA is something I tell every student that DSA is something like a maths in your life.
It's a
What-
fundamental thing
yeah.
for computer science.
Yes.
Everybody should know
So
that.
basically, if I say about mathematics, each and every day, each and every point, you are going to use mathematics, right? Numbers, kilometers, everything. So similarly, if you are going to stay in your computer science, then DSA is going to play a vital role inside it. Okay, so DSA is considered fundamental, so you should not think that DSA or something else. DSA with something else, right?
And I would also say, like, just to add the point and to this, that if you have solved a good amount of questions in DSA, then that fear of coding goes away, and also you get a good confidence and command over the
Right.
languages,
Yes.
right? That okay, if you have solved, let's say, 300 questions in Java, now you have a command over Java language as well, because when you solve 300 questions, you will face a lot of time limit exceeded, many times segmentation error. And because of all these reasons, what happens? No, if you practice a good amount of questions, first of all, your confidence increases, your problem solving, like there are a lot of benefits, right? Your problem solving ability increases. You know how to manage time and space
Yes.
efficiently, and it will also help in your development or machine learning, because now once you learn the tech stack and syntax, you do not have that coding fear part. Like if you are, let's say, making a to-do application or any application as such, and you need a for loop to, let's say, print something on the screen or something like that, or you want to add a little bit of logic to that, then to that backend logic, you are not frightened about that if you have done DSA very well. So
Yes.
and it's becoming a more of a fundamental rather than should I do this or this, so that's a building block. Then if the, like, just to extend a bit this answer, if in the business logic you are just to give a simple example, if let's say there is a post and there are or let's say there is a comment, and in that comment there is a reply, then there is again a reply. Now if the main comment gets deleted, then you also need to delete the other two.
Right.
But if the other two comments get deleted, it does not mean that the main
Correct.
comment gets deleted. So
Yes.
here you may think of something like a tree data structure,
Right.
where if the parent node gets deleted, the other
child
two
node.
gets
Whole child
deleted,
node.
right?
Yeah.
Now, if you directly go into these things, you might not find handy. But if you have done DSA, okay,
This is how you have to think.
yeah,
This is how you have to implement.
this is simple to go. Like there may be
Yes.
many approaches, but this is just an example
Just an
to
example.
give, right? So
Right.
the fear of coding, and you become quite comfortable with that. So we will say do DSA first. You may not go in too much intense, but then go for machine learning, right? If you have a good amount of time.
Yes, exactly. So so this point is going to be the deal breaker, and in this point we are going to talk about the applications of every language. See, each and every language that is existing on earth has some use case, right?
Correct.
So basically you are learning that programming language because it is good at something.
Right.
So
It was made
yeah,
with that point of view that this will be used for this.
yes. So if I talk about Java, Java is entirely good. Like basically, it has a strong hold on the backend development. It has got
Right.
very good frameworks, and nowadays I've seen many top companies are working entirely on Java. So if you are looking forward for a career as a Java backend developer or a backend developer, then you should go with Java and start with the basics of Java backend. And one more thing, if you are learning any kind of, let's say, backend development or anything, no, everything has got, apart from framework, there's something called as fundamental concepts. So start with the fundamental concepts also in Java backend development or anything. Just go with the fundamental concepts, so it will be very easy if you are going to switch between different frameworks. Right. So what are your views? What Python is strong in?
Talking about Python actually can do everything, right? Because we have libraries for all. If we want to go for backend development, we can use Flask, we can use Django. If we want to go for, like what we say, ML and data science, we have plethora of languages, plethora of libraries for that. And the major application today that we are seeing of Python is because of Django and its machine learning and a deep learning perspective only. So basically, if you want to go in any of these fields, you can choose Python. Apart from that, what I always suggest is, if you are not clear with what you would be pursuing after, if you do not have yet made the decision, if you are confused, then you can also choose Python, because once you go with that, eventually in any path you want to go, there would be one library for that. Okay, you can pick that up. That is, you can, what you can say is the main point of Python.
Yes, and I have seen many of the students, they use Python generally for making the final year project because it's very easy to build
Right,
projects,
right.
and the projects are very interesting. Like basically, you will be like wondering how this is working.
Correct. Everything is abstract.
Yeah. So what about C++? What stronghold it has got?
Well, I think you know one of the big advantages is that you with C with
You can directly, I guess you
with
can.
C++ you can directly interact with the hardware, and
Yes.
so it is used in a lot of IoT devices and operating system buildings and game development. Yeah.
Okay, so we have got a fan of Karan sir.
Yeah, that is
So
what I was
Sahil
going to say.
Anand says.
Sahil is
Oh.
here, Karan.
Hi Sahil, how are you? I hope you are doing good.
Great.
Okay, so basically among these three languages, so as I mentioned, first of all, think about the career in which you want to go for. Okay, so there will be career wise choice, as I mentioned. If you want to work with the data part, then go with Python. If you are looking for working at the kernel level or operating system level, then you should go with C++. And for backend, you should go with Java. Now the other thing
Very
is that
broadly.
you might be looking forward to learn any programming language because you don't know any programming language. So for that, I would suggest that you can start with C for the beginner, and then after that, you will be getting an idea that whether to pursue this career or that career, right? So basically, career option basically plays the important role.
I
So
think we also have a Jai fan here.
Okay, and I believe I know that fan personally.
Some Devashish fans, please.
Okay, so people, we have told you the pros and the cons of every of the language. Then it is just for you guys to make your own decision. Say whatsoever field you want to choose, you can. We have told you what are the pros. We have told you what are the cons. Just major pro of C++ and C, the speed of it, right? Major pro of Java, the biggest market capture that it has in backend development. For Python, you can say it is jack of all trades, and majorly in the field of data science and machine learning. So
yes,
we have given you a very broad way discussion. I hope this discussion is somewhere or the other going to help you to make your choice. Again, there are
are
some
some
questions.
questions, yeah.
Yeah, we must pick a few questions
so
now.
I can see.
I'll just
Yeah.
add one more point.
Sure.
So, C++, as I mentioned, it is used where you want interaction with the hardware. There probably Python or Java might not be used. So mostly, even if you see companies which make processors and chips kind of things, you can just Google them. They use C or C++. Okay, so in that way, that
embedding.
becomes handy. A lot of electronics guys who are connecting the chips and all, they use it, and it is used for OS, for IoT devices, for game development, etc. And I think we should also tell one more point,
Yes.
right?
So yeah.
So I think even one question is asked, and we were going to cover it only. One person has asked how much of a language is considered enough.
Yes.
Right.
Good
So
point.
here we were also going to add that see, don't go and fit into beginner's loop. That is what we are going to suggest. What is a beginner's loop? So you start with a particular language. Let's say you took 14 days, and on the 14th day you felt like, oh, what I learned on the second day I forgot, right? If you are learning the language for the first time, now you again go there and just keep repeating, then again you forgot something old. So this is not the right way to learn a particular language. What you should do is first learn a language which is enough to go. Like the basic syntax, some for loops, if else conditions, maybe while loop, taking input, giving output, and functions. I think this is the basic. If you know, you are good to go with any language. Now implement that language. For example, start solving DSA problems with that language. Once you do that, if you are stuck anywhere, just Google out that I'm getting this problem, so you will get the solution to that. So in that way you will also implement it. You will also make maybe projects or solve a lot of DSA problems. Your DSA will also become good, and your language will also improve. But don't get stuck in beginner's loop, like just keep on learning the language only.
Yes.
That is a very bad thing, and many beginners make that mistake.
Right.
So I just want to add that point. So this is the correct way to learn the language, like learn the basic things. Even if you do not feel much confident, like you are feeling that I do not know this language very well, I will not be able to implement, no problem. Go and try and solve some very basic questions of DSA which actually do not require DSA, like just printing the array or
Reversing
finding
an
the
array, yeah.
very basic things. Or just write sample codes on yourself, like whether a given string is palindrome or not, or given what is the sum of the given array elements, whether it is even or odd. So this will use some basic for loops, if else condition, and because of this, some you may also try some pattern printing.
Correct.
Because of this, your language will become strong. So that's the correct way of learning a language. Learn the basic syntax and then start implementing.
Right. So
Okay.
basically, what just to summarize Karan's point is, you need to get familiar with the syntax of a language, and plus, at least you should be at that level that whatsoever you're thinking, what logic you are able to build, you should be able to implement that. So for that, all these like a smaller level questions of palindrome and the stuff, and working with functions, basically, if you are able to do that, if you are able to implement your logic, then we can consider that you know the language enough.
Okay, so there's a question popping up very like frequently. Which language is best for DSA? So see, DSA is all about problem solving. It is not never about which language you use for
Right.
solving it. But if you talk about competitive programming, so we discussed a point on speed, right? So at the point when you are talking about competitive programming, speed comes into existence. Like basically, it's all about speed, right? So at that point, I think C++ is the fastest, and it is the majorly used by every competitive coders, right?
Yeah, it
What
is
else?
used, but I have also seen some of the top coders using even Python. So I think
Okay.
because in Python, what you can do in C++ in 10 lines, in Python,
Right.
you will be able to do in 1 line.
Mhm.
So I think even when you solve the questions on online platforms, the time limit for Python is approximately 8 times than what it
Right.
is for C++, because Python is slower in that way. But just to add to this answer, I think again, as Jai said, it is more about problem solving and not of language. And even the companies will look for your problem solving ability and not whether you are solving it in C++ or Java. But one more point to add is that there are online coding grounds of each and every companies. So I have seen some companies, like, we are talking in general. Now there are some specific companies which allow you to write code in only JavaScript because they want only JavaScript developers. We are not talking about that. But in general, whenever a company has a coding test, sometimes they might allow some languages, let's say for Rust or maybe some other languages. Some languages then do not allow. But what I have seen is C++, if it is not a very particular test, not a particular test for any language, it is general, then C++, Java, and Python, all three are
there.
always there.
Always there.
Always there.
Irrespective of other languages are there or not. Even if you look, some platforms support other languages or not, but these three are always supported. So I think uh, it is very good to know DSA in at least one of the three languages.
Correct.
If you have command over 2 or 3, it's absolutely good, but at least one of the three languages is good. And please remember, unless and until they are not hiring for a very specific role, depending upon the company, they are looking at your problem solving ability. Then they will train you in whatever field they want you to work.
Yes. And I've seen many of the coders, they give the entire DSA interview and they code in JavaScript. So it does not matter about the programming language. Okay, and I can see there is one more question.
Just a second, Jay.
Yes.
One more thing I would want to just re-quote. So the point that you have been making, I have also just read one comment about it. The thing is, every language, whenever you are in any of the competitions, every language is defined a different compile time. Not just compile time, like at the backend, you are given different time limits for a language to compile. So for C++, being the fastest, it has the least. For Python, being the slowest, it has the most. And Java lies in the middle. So it is not like if your program is must to execute in 1 second. That happens. So some people have that confusion that C++ is the fastest, so that half of the codes are not going to run in Python. But in most of the platforms, what happens, every language has its own time bracket that it has at the backend, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you were actually picking out some questions.
Yes, I can see this question from Vishal Narsi. He's saying that I'm in 6th semester of college. Currently, I'm learning core Java. I also learned Java Enterprise Edition, and I have to decide to learn Spring and Spring Boot. Fresher get job in Java backend development. So nowadays there is a very much shortage, and everyone is expecting at least 1 year of experience for Java backend development, right? But you can get a job as an intern for Java backend. So try to find an internship in this field in Java backend, and I think there will be internship opportunities available, so you can look for internships right now.
One again, a very, very, like frequently asked question. What is the difference between Java and JavaScript? Jay, answer
so
this.
basically, they both are completely different programming languages. Okay, and the name just contains the word Java, but they
That's
are
all.
completely different programming languages. They don't have any kind of relation, basically.
And one more point I would like to add is that companies might be asking 1+ years of experience, but that does not mean that you cannot get a job.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You might need to start somewhere below your expectation, maybe in a company, but the more importance is of getting the experience in the starting years of your careers, and it's less about the opportunity. It's more about how much are you prepared. Are you prepared? Is your resume ready? Like tomorrow if you get an interview call, are you ready for that? Do you have good
Yes,
projects
exactly.
mentioned in the resume? That's the thing. So focus on that those things, and eventually once you are very good, opportunity will definitely come. And so there is a question by Pankaj, how to get a fresher job in Geeks for Geeks. So I think you may just go on the Zoho Recruit Geeks for Geeks career page, and then probably if you find a suitable role for you, you may apply, and
One more thing I would want to add it. People always say, is this thing enough to get a job? Yeah. What you must consider at least is to like get to see what opportunities are there, and different opportunities do require different skills, right? So if you are going for one opportunity, just read what skills does that need. Is that sinking in with what you have studied? If that is, then it's great. But if it isn't, that means that job, for that particular job, you want something else, right? So go with the JD, the job description first, and then see how much it matches you and the job is even suitable for you or not. That is the thing.
Yes, so we have a question continuously popping. So
Okay, somebody is.
JavaScript is better for
Oh my God.
DSA. So for DSA, as I mentioned, you can go with JavaScript as well, but get a reason that why you are going to do JavaScript with DSA. Okay, so don't take a language that's too complicated to implement the data structures, right? And if you are learning for the first time, then I would suggest go with the popular languages for DSA.
Because
as I mentioned,
online also, I think if you are talking about DSA, you will get a lot of help in C++, Java, and Python if you are stuck somewhere rather than
Right.
JavaScript.
All of these three languages have very big communities which back them up.
Right. Someone is asking which is the best DSA course in Java. I think it's Geeks for Geeks DSA in Java course. There is-
Some of the
and you
major
will
parts
also
are
get
actually
you will also get
by Jay.
90% refund if you complete within 90 days. So you may
Yes.
consider it. Okay.
390 is going on. Don't forget that.
And I would like to ask everyone, so if you have not started anything, like what after this video, at this point, what language are you guys preferring? Will you go with C++, Java, or Python? Just write down in the comment section. I just want to know how many of you are on my team.
Also, by the time, I think there are two questions that give me a brief roadmap for Java developer and how to effectively use Python libraries. I think we
Okay,
can
yeah.
go with
Right,
those
right, right.
questions one by
Okay,
one.
so
Right.
yeah, so a roadmap for Java developer. So basically, as I mentioned, every backend technology. So for Java, what I think, there are basic like standard fundamental things as a development, Java backend development. So that contains JSP servlets, JDBC, multi-threading. Use first of all, before learning Spring, Spring Boot, and all those concepts, I would suggest go with those technologies. Learn how they work basically, and then the frameworks are built upon fundamental things. They make your
Correct.
work easier, right? So basically, they are not changing the concept. The concept is the same, which is used in this technology. So first of all, start with all those JDBC, JSP servlets, Hibernate. You have multi-threading. So focus on those technologies, and then you can understand the frameworks in a better manner. Okay, so after that, you have a list of frameworks. Basically, learn Spring Core, the basic of Spring, and then switch to Spring Boot. Okay, so that is my suggestion. By the end, you know Spring Boot, you yourself will be able to figure out that what to do next, right? So this is a start for you guys.
So picking up the next question, it was, sir, how to use Python libraries in an effective way. So it is Suvodeep. So Suvodeep, the basic thing is, first of all, you need to see what problem you are having, what project you are making, or just what is needed, and then you need to just search the corresponding libraries. If let's take an example, you are implementing any machine learning algorithm, so you need to just check what libraries are actually supporting that machine learning algorithm, and out of those you can take up any of these which is the most efficient in the documentation. One more thing, yep, sometimes you have quite a few options for implementing the same thing. So if I talk about image recognition, so you have OpenCV and you have a few more libraries, then it is upon you what choice you are making. And internal implementation also plays a role. If assume you are in an organization which has been using like a few various technologies about your computer vision, and you are incorporating OpenCV in that, so you have to see if that is very compatible with it. So compatibility matters, and how efficient that is, and that would be mentioned in the documentation matters. And more of all, what you need is matter. What you need is patterns. Okay, so you can see all of those points in mind, and then you can pick your language, pick your library up in Python, and you can work with it.
Okay. And I have got reply from Shivansh and Pankaj. They are going to start with Java. So
Great.
I have two people from my team. What about you
Okay,
guys?
are you making teams now?
Okay, so let me take this one question. Someone is asking, can I get a job as a front end developer as a fresher after 1 year, because I'm learning JavaScript and also making some amazing projects. So see, yeah, you can definitely get a job as a JavaScript developer, but I would suggest you two things. First is don't learn just JavaScript. Learn the whole Mon stack. If you are trying to focus on JavaScript,
Right.
then learn the whole Mon stack. So there is your MongoDB, there is your Express, there is your React, which is used for front end, and then there is Node.js runtime, which will be used for backend. And definitely, you need to have strong JavaScript concepts. Then only you can, write code in React and Node.js. You cannot directly write in them. So when I say Mon, JavaScript is already included, because if you do not know what is a callback function, if you do not know what is a promise, how are you going to survive in React or maybe Node.js, right? So that's what I will say is don't just learn JavaScript, learn the complete Mon and make some good projects, and also see how you interact them with the database, because yes, there are some specific jobs for JavaScript developers, but here you will have more opportunities and more growth. First thing. Second thing is, I don't know why are you targeting 1 year, because I think the more amount of time you give to a specific work, the more it spreads.
Correct.
Like for example, if you want to, if your train is tomorrow or day after tomorrow at 10 p.m,
Right.
you have 48 hours or more, so you will pack your bags accordingly, slowly. But
Right.
let's say you have a sudden plan, you have to go to another city today at 10 p.m because of some emergency.
Yes.
You
You
will
have to wrap
pack
up
the
everything
bags
soon.
in 3
Right.
hours also.
Right.
So I think 1 year is a very big amount of time. I would suggest you to give 4 to 5 months, if you like, because then your work will speed up. And if you are targeting within 4 to 5 months, eventually you might land up within 6 to 7 months also. That's fine. But if you are already targeting 1 year, then it will take a lot of time, and 1 year is a very big amount, right?
Yes.
So that these are the two things which I would like to tell.
Correct. Adding up to that only, see, you just need to acquire as much knowledge as you want to get started in. So once you have enough amount of knowledge, you are ready to go, you are good to go, you are ready to make projects. Make that, because learning any of the technology is a never ending process. So most of the times you are going to make up the projects, you are going to be coming into the situations where you might not have dealt that before, you might not have any solution for that. You have to look that up on the internet. Just do that. That is also part of the learning process, and that that keeps on going. One more question I saw here was, what do you guys think if interviewer asks interview, should you use any specific programming language to solve the coding test? Well, that is totally not the case. People want to see your problem solving abilities, so they are going to be giving you coding questions. The major part is the discussion that you are having with the interviewer, the solution you are proposing, how optimized solution you are proposing. Then implementation is actually just, what you can say, a part of the whole solution. It is not the complete solution. So I really think that none of the interview actually binds you to solve any of the question in any particular language. They see your problem solving ability. I believe you both also
Yes,
agree, right?
exactly.
Yeah, and I would also like to add this, that I have seen many good product based companies that before they schedule the interview, you get a call from the HR and they say which language would you prefer. And when you say you will prefer, they will respectively arrange your interview with a person who is familiar with C++, although they want to check your problem solving abilities, but they also want to see how efficiently and how fast and how neat the code you are writing. But that is the case in most of the good companies, unless the company is hiring for a very specific role, right? So most of the good companies, they even before the interview, they will ask in which language are you comfortable, and then depending upon that, they will take the language in that direction. And it works in that way, right?
Okay.
And
So before, just a bit. So before moving forward, I can see 41 people are watching us right now. And so let's hit the target of 100 likes right now. So people do hit the like button.
Yeah,
please,
and
let's make it 100.
Okay, so one question is from Akhilesh Billa. He's saying that I have mechanical engineering background. I'm confused to choose which language is best for me. So for all the students who are not currently in IT or basically computer science, I would like to give you an advice. Start with C language for now. And afterwards you are comfortable, and don't, it's not the case that you have to give much amount of time.
yeah.
Okay.
1 week or 2 weeks is more than enough to get off. Okay, just to start with.
And after that, as I mentioned, just focus on what kind of career you want to pursue, or you can directly go with the future trends of the languages. Basically, Java is going to boom, or C++ is going to boom. Right?
How to start coding by writing your first hello world. What answer could be that?
Also, so someone has asked, can you give me a roadmap for the front end developer? Thank you so much. I very much, welcome. First of all, thank you for the appreciation. So I would say, if you are thinking of becoming a front end developer, then obviously you can start with the basic HTML, CSS, then go to JavaScript. But one thing which I would like to add here is again the beginner's loop. Like many people just they start with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In JavaScript, if they go to a bit advanced concepts like callback function or chaining or something like that, then then they think, oh, what's happening, without understanding in depth. And by that time, if they are learning for the first time, they forget about HTML, then they again go to HTML. I would say HTML, CSS directly are not used very much, and so you should know HTML and CSS, just go through it once and you should be good to go with that. Like in CSS, if you know how to apply basic properties, how to link up the CSS file, and how to probably use the flex box with which you can just arrange the items in the center, and that's a good to go. After that, you can Google things out, right?
Yes.
So those are the things. Understand JavaScript very well, because if you are not good with JavaScript, then Node.js and React, you will be like, what's happening, right? You need to be very good at JavaScript. Now, I don't mean that you take an array and write the sum of the elements or something like that. You need to understand the architecture of JavaScript. You need to understand how a callback function works. You need to understand how a set timeout or something like that, a timer works. You need to understand what are web APIs, what is a callback queue, what is an event loop, what are promises. what is the difference between arrow function or a normal function? Is there any difference? Where can we use some of the things like map, filter, etc.? So JavaScript, you need to give a good amount of time. Don't give much time to HTML, CSS. And then once you are comfortable with this, also make good projects with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Then choose a particular framework like React and so on. And then you go in much depth, like how do you hit an API in the backend? How do you pass the data? How do you make a post request, etc. But that's the overall, brief overview of how you can go with the as of now to start with.
Yes. So, like, we are only having 5 to 7 minutes, so we'll try to quickly answer each and every question. So, the question is next question is I start DSA with Java but development in Python, but companies are asking programming questions in Python interview. So, like, basically, I don't think that would be the case every time. The scenario is not going to be the same until and unless
The companies that are asking might be very like specifically hiring for that role only. So you can look for different companies. There are a lot of companies with different openings and with different requirements. So whichever suits you the best, target those.
Yes.
There is one from Saita. She's asking, the data structures using Python is important or full stack web development? Both are two very different things. You cannot compare
Right.
these two. Data structure in any of the languages is your fundamental. So once you know that, then any development, any sort of development you do is going to be easier for you. That's all.
Okay. So I have a question from Sasank. He's saying that at present I'm learning Java. Can you provide some suggestions regarding skill sets to be improved in Java? So basically, what I would suggest, focus on every fundamental concept, as I mentioned, the multi-threadings, the JDBC part, right? And understand how the entire backend thing in Java is working. So that would be the plus point if you know everything, the backend process of Java, like the variables, the objects, the classes. They are the most common thing that everyone does know, but they don't know about how a garbage collector works. So
Correct.
try to understand those things, and it will be very much interesting. And Java is totally open source. You can read out the entire code itself.
Correct.
Right.
So let me answer this Sodeep's question. He is asking, sir, how to prepare for off-campus for data analyst job? What are technologies I need to learn? See, for data analyst, majorly three things are important: how you are picking the data, how you are working on the data, and how you are visualizing it. That's all. So for the first part, picking up the data and dealing with it, SQL is needed. And then for the second part, cleaning and analyzing data, that is your Python libraries such as pandas and numpy cover. And after that, you have to visualize that. So you can use matplotlib or any supported library which is helping you to visualize the data. And once you learn at least these things, and I believe Power BI and some tools are also there. If you learn any of, like, for these three things, you learn enough tools, then I believe you're ready for data analyst job, at least at the fresher level. I hope that answered your question, Sopti.
So one more question is that should I learn Spring Framework or directly Spring Boot, or both one by one? So Spring Framework, learn the basics of Spring Framework. It does not take much amount of time, and to ease the work of Spring Boot came into existence. So you'll be understanding what all things are better in Spring Boot compared to Spring. Okay, so first Spring basics and then go with Spring Boot.
I like very broadly, so many people have been asking what to do to get a job. Guys, you have to make some things very clear in your head. Jobs are available, but only for those who are skilled. So the very primary thing that you have to focus on are your skills. First of all, find out your interest, what you are interested in. Then build up the skills in that field, and then look out for the jobs which are specifically for that. And once you are good enough in any of the field and you target those jobs, I really believe that you're going to get it. So first of all, try to build yourself, try to build your skill set. Then on the basis of that, judge further.
I think there is one more question that should I learn CP? I know Java well. Should I shift to CPP for competitive programming? I think there is no any specific need to shift to CPP.
Yes.
Because as we mentioned on online platforms, we believe that like we agree that CPP is faster than Java, but you also get more time to execute the Java code. I mean, if there is 1 second time for C++ code, then there will be 4 seconds or 3 seconds for the Java code. So there is no a specific
Yes.
requirement to shift.
And every language
around
is
6 to 8 seconds for Python.
and every language has got a fast IO. Okay, so read about fast IO in every language. All this Java and C++, like Java and Python already have fast IO, so you can use those things. And yeah, so the next question, can I use Java for competitive? Yes, it's already answered. So is competitive coding important? Competitive coding, the basics of competitive coding is important, not the
Also,
advanced thing.
let's make this point clear. Don't differentiate DSA and competitive programming. I would say competitive
Right,
programming
right.
is an application of DSA.
Yes.
Correct.
Where you have more depth or more logical questions which you need to solve. Right. So if the question is it compulsory or important? So even if you are doing DSA, it is a very low level competitive coding. There is nothing
can
wrong
say
in
that.
saying that, right? So don't differentiate between them, but I think it is not very important, right? If you are good to go with the core DSA, because competitive coding also includes very logical questions,
Correct, correct.
whereas they might not be asked in companies, right? So
Mhm.
it's not that important, but yes, I would say if you are looking from placement point of view, maybe one or two companies, like maybe
Right. The very big ones are
Trilogy Innovations, Code
right.
Nations, they have
Rubric
very,
and
High
very
level.
high level questions, right? So there your competitive coding might get helpful. But
yes.
basically, if you are good to go with your core DS and you have solved a variety of questions, and if you are confident, that's a very important thing. You should be confident, then you are good to go. So it's not compulsory, but it's good to go if you have time.
Talking about difficult exams, I just remembered last hack with Infi. Last hack with
Acha.
Infi.
I think Infosys also had some hard
Ah,
tests
yes,
last
yes.
year.
That was hack with Infi.
Acha,
Hack
okay.
within. Yeah. Okay, so yeah.
And any other question? So I
Let
believe
me
all of
take
the questions are answered. Most of these. Do
again.
you
I
want
think
to
the
take any
questions
question?
are quite repeating.
Yeah.
Let me just answer this one question. I have solved 500 questions. Is it enough? See, like there is no yes or no to that question, right? It depends on what variety of 500 questions you have solved, what difficulty level you have solved. If
Correct.
you have solved very easy 500 questions based on array, those are not enough. If you have
Yep.
solved all the variety of questions, that might be enough. The question is, are you confident enough in all the core data structures algorithm concepts? If you are, good to go. Yeah.
And that's great.
So
For
don't judge it with the number of questions, because
Yes.
someone might be very good after solving 400 questions, whereas someone might not be confident and they might need to solve 900 questions.
correct.
Yes.
So that's not of you cannot judge based on the number of questions solved. But I would suggest, assuming that you have solved all the different variety of questions 500, it's a good number. But I would say, are you confident in each and every topic which is important for placement? If yes, then good to go.
And
Correct.
number of questions, 500 question does not mean you are only solving 300 of easy questions. Okay, so
Right.
if you are doing that thing, then obviously that's a not
It
a
is
good thing.
completely based upon how structured you are planning your learning to be. So if you're picking up data structures, learning the theory, learning the implementation, and taking up, let's say, 20, 25 questions of those are enough, I guess, to start with the data structure. Then you can keep on participating in challenges and try facing different sort of questions there.
Okay, so I think it's almost the time right now. And are there any things, any last moment things you guys want to
Yeah.
just tell the audience?
Sure. Well, the thing is, people, I hope you like this discussion and this sort of podcast where we are interacting with you. And if you want more of these, you can surely comment. And
Yes.
it was really great interacting with you here. And it was actually like the first time we three sat together to just answer your questions.
Yeah.
It don't usually happens. We go individually, but this time this was a discussion. So I hope we liked it and you liked it too. And if you really did, mention that in the comments and do like the video.
And
Right.
yeah, let's keep the target of 100 likes.
Sure. Has that not happened yet?
It's 74.
People, why
so
why
only,
why is it
yeah,
stuck on 75? Make it 100.
yes.
Also, at the end, I would just like to say that it was quite a good thing, and I hope we were able to answer the questions
Correct.
and you were able to get something out of this. And I would just say that we go. I usually get this question like, "What shall we do to get a job?" It's not your fault, okay? Everyone thinks in that way, so I'm not telling you anything, but don't think about, okay, what do I need to do to get a job, only do that much, or if I do these many questions I'll get a job. No, uh, keep the job aside. Keep the job aside for a while. Focus
Build
on your
yourself.
resume, focus on your skills. Just make your resume very good. You will get offers from the company foreign, like they will come and give you offer, right? So keep that attitude, learning attitude. And along with that, at the end I would just like to add again that the 390 challenge is going on, and I think the deadline is till 31st January.
We are talking about a skilling up. This is the best
Yes.
time to skill up.
So if you are thinking to learn any course, you can, I think the link is also pinned here. You can just go and look at the 390 challenge, explore the courses at Geeks for Geeks. A variety of courses are available, taught by some of the great mentors and industry experts. And if you are able to complete 90% of the course within 90 days, you will get 90% of the refund. So you also have a good motivation and a good thing to start your year with. And I hope all of you are very good luck. Thank you.
So, guys, should we wrap up?
Yes.
So, what do you guys say?
Let's wrap up for today.
Yeah. So, take care,
Okay.
guys.
And yeah,
And
Happy
we'll keep
New Year
coming
again.
for such sessions, and we'll be more than happy to answer a lot more.
yes. And if we have missed any of your doubts or anything, just put it down in the comment section and your views on this session as well. Yeah.
All right, guys. So, take care, guys. I think I might need to end it there. So, Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye-bye,
Take care.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you for joining.
Thanks for joining.